In the last video called The Firebird, I talked about a Russian folktale in which three brothers are going in search of the great firebird, and they're riding horses. And they come to a path, a three-way split in the path, and one of those paths leads to your horse being killed. And two of the brothers don't want to take that path or any path, and they turn around on their horses. The third brother, Ivan, the irresponsible one, goes down the trail where your horse is killed. And he has to walk on foot for a while, and he eventually meets a wolf. And the wolf is what he rides, and the wolf takes him where he needs to go. And I said that the horses represent ideas that we get from our culture that we ride around on. Ideas about success and achievement and being a nice person and a successful person and a responsible person and all this stuff. And then Ivan allows his horse to be killed, and he's on foot now. So this is like letting go of these ideas and facing the world, facing reality without all these grand ideas. What happens then? This is like meditation. This is like a spiritual path, because we're not buying into these cultural ideas or that we learned from our parents or wherever we got them. And I said that spirituality is like existentialism, postmodernism, or the scientific outlook in that it faces reality without these ideas, without these cultural ideas. So, existentialists say it's just you facing the world and you have to make choices. You can't look to outside authorities or concepts. It's all you. Postmodernists claim, at least, to say that there is no objective truth. It's just what we want to believe. I don't think they really have the strength of their convictions to follow through on that, because they then come up with all sorts of ideas. But in their purest essence, postmodernism is like spiritualism in that it questions all ideas. And also science purports to just confront the world as it is, the cold, naked reality. So in the last video I said spirituality is like that. We are just facing reality with no crutches, you could say. But I said spirituality faces more of reality. Spiritual reality includes the wolf. So what is the wolf, and how could existentialists, scientists, and postmodernists miss it when they look at reality? So I'll digress a little bit, but I think it's important to talk about reality. Reality may ultimately be one immense thing, but as far as humans are concerned, it's different for everyone. What you call reality is largely made up of what you experience. But we also believe in the reality of things we've never directly experienced. We take the word of others for them. So our reality is partly a private experience and partly socially constructed. right? Exactly what we're willing to accept as real based on the word of others depends on many factors. One of the most important is whether we think we see evidence of the reality we're told about. For example, we can't directly see X-ray radiation, but we take the word of scientists that it exists, in part because we've seen medical X-rays. Our acceptance of the reality of things reported by others is also influenced by how many of those others there are and our level of trust in them. So many of us believe in X-ray radiation not just because of the evidence, but because there are hundreds of thousands of scientists who agree it exists, and because we trust scientists to tell us the truth. Now, you may be someone who was raised by flat earthers, and you trusted your parents and maybe the community around them. So in that case, maybe you know there's not a lot of people that agree that the earth is flat, but you trust the ones who tell you it is. So that's a reality you believe in on the basis of trusting the source. Now, it's also encouraging to believe in things we haven't experienced if it's practical to believe in them, right? Like if we're rewarded for believing in them by those around us. And that's practical. And, of course, so is a lot of what scientists tell us about reality, including the existence of X-ray radiation. Now, take something like a belief in the reality of ghosts. If you've never experienced a ghost, you may or may not believe in their reality. Maybe a friend tells you she's seen one, but you don't know anyone else who has. Or maybe you look at a poll online and it says about 20% of Americans report seeing a ghost. Maybe it matters to you that mainstream scientists tend not to believe in ghosts. You may find a belief in ghosts is practical or not. Maybe belief brings you comfort, knowing loved ones still exist. Or maybe it feels creepy. Or maybe it doesn't matter much to you one way or the other. If reality includes what we experience, then it must include our inner world of thoughts and feelings as well as our outer one. These two worlds are very different. For example, while ghosts may be rare in the outer world, they are the only inhabitants of our inner world. Our thoughts and feelings may as well be ghosts. They seem mysterious and half-real. They appear and disappear, often without us knowing why. We sense their presence, but we can't see, hear, taste, or touch, or smell them. They can also delight us or spook us. The wolf is a similar kind of ghostly creature. She appears mysteriously from the forest, then disappears back into it again. Horses belong to our socially created reality. The things we've all agreed sound reasonable or impressive. But the wolf appears only to Ivan. The wolf's guidance can't be socially verified. It can't be shown to have a proven track record either. This is because she has never offered anyone else the guidance she offers Ivan. She's similar to a thought or feeling, but isn't exactly either of them. She's more like an inner knowing or a still small voice. For now, let's call her an intuition. The story of the firebird grants intuition in the form of the wolf, a reality as substantial as anything else in our lives. More than that, the story portrays our intuition or inner knowing or inspiration as the key to our fulfillment. Remember, the wolf carries Ivan on her back to all the places he needs to go and advises him what to do when he gets there. By contrast, our culture only sort of grants intuitions reality. We recognize them as sometimes important, but like ghosts, we tend to treat them like second-class citizens. We often ignore or dismiss our intuitions in the face of what we're told is logical, reasonable, or statistically true. Scientists may recognize the immense role intuition plays in making discoveries, Einstein, for example, but they do so only informally. Similarly, no matter how many they've seen, existentialists insist that wolves are just another creation of the human brain and that really we're all alone in the forest. The story of the firebird makes a promise that seems incredible. There really is a creature every bit as flesh and blood as the horse she replaces. But she's known only to each of us. Not only that, she is wiser than all the sages and scientists in the world. When we let go of all those concepts of who we are, what we should be doing, and what everyone else is doing, we receive guidance every bit as real and 1,000 times more valuable. The reality of the wolf, of that inner knowing, is the secret of spirituality. It is also the great miracle of existence. The universe is friendly and speaks to us in our hearts. The wolf is on our side. She doesn't eat Ivan, nor does she tell him, "Forget this firebird nonsense. Come live with me in the woods and eat squirrels." No, she offers to help him find what he wants. The story of the firebird tells us that there is something in the primordial forest of existence that wants us to have what we want. Because of the way we're conditioned to think, most people can't accept this. Many even find the claim morally repugnant. Given all the suffering in the world, it just seems so obviously wrong. But the claim of scientists that everything is made of atoms also seems obviously wrong. In other words, if we take simply a casual look at what's around us, we see no evidence for atoms. To know about such tiny and incredibly important objects, we need to make a special effort. We need to investigate. The scientific consensus that everything is made of atoms took decades of experimentation and discussion to establish. Trusting the wolf is analogous to this. The only way to know is to experiment over and over. There is no substitute for this participation. Spirituality is not a spectator sport. The story of the Firebird tells us that when we drop what our parents, friends, culture, and inner chatter all tell us we should do, there is something else that emerges to guide us. Outside input may be helpful, but even if we logically weigh the pros and cons for choosing one thing or another, we can never weigh all of them. Ultimately, it comes down to each of us and our wolf. Ultimately, some undefinable something speaks to us from the forest of our heart. This is how spirituality helps us meet our moments. It invites us to clear a space so a wolf can approach. It's walking on foot so a wolf can approach. It's the practice of recognizing wolves and being open to their guidance. Just as the wolf appears to Ivan when he sits down to rest, so our intuitions, or sense of inner knowing, tend to appear to us when we least expect them. When we take a nap, a walk, or a shower. The wolf isn't attracted by hard work or struggle or careful planning. She doesn't care what the horses in town are doing. She follows her own wild logic. But it's the only kind of logic that can lead us to the Firebird. You could have ridden your horse forever and never found the Firebird, the wolf tells Ivan. We might imagine an angel is a more fitting image for what we could call the divine guidance of intuition. And angels often do deliver God's messages in religious stories. And yes, some people do have intuitions about big things. They just know, for example, that they want to be an actor or a mother or a teacher or a vet. Intuitions can also feel angelic when they're more profound than usual. We tend to call these not intuitions, but realizations or insights or revelations. In art, they're called inspirations. Artists often speak of their creations appearing to them or coming through them. Mozart seems to have consistently written music this way. But if we expect our revelations to come streaking from the clouds with trumpet blasts, we're liable to wait a while. The image of the wolf, rather than an angel, reminds us that usually intuition comes to us on padded feet. It guides us in smaller, wolf-like steps that are integrated into our day-to-day living. These steps may lead us to something big, but meanwhile, they are what life is made of. I had the urge to cook some sweet potato the other day, for example, and eating it with butter and salt was divine. The image of the wolf keeps us on the earth, following our nose, alert to the delicious details of the moment. The wolf reminds us that if we pay attention, God speaks to us all the time. We feel drawn, for example, to go to a particular party, even though we don't usually like parties. A book catches our eye at a flea market. A nap sounds really good. Driving home from work, we suddenly feel like turning down a different road. Intuitions are not necessarily anti-rational. In fact, they tend to be more practical than abstract rational ideas or statistical predictions because they are often concerned with the immediate situation we find ourselves in. They tell us what to do here and now. Ultimately, though, they're unexplainable. This is one of their hallmarks. Intuitions lift us out of the realm of logic. We simply feel a pull, an urge, a playful thought. Sometimes the small steps lead to hugeness. Maybe, for example, we meet our future spouse at that party. Sometimes they simply lead to satisfaction in the moment, like my sweet potato. Or so we may think. But can we humans know all the hidden connections between the events of our lives? The wolf is at the same time more down to earth and also more mysterious than an angel.